that your boast that you could pass her off as a duchess at the embassy ball, eh? I'll say you're the greatest teacher alive if you can make that good. I'll bet you all the expenses of the experiment that you can't do it.
Oh, you're real good. Thank you, Captain.
Almost irresistible. She's so deliciously low, so horribly dirty.
To his legion of fans, he was Sexy Rexy, the greatest high comedy actor of his generation, the one and only Professor Henry Higgins. But to his 6 wives, Rex Harrison cut a more complex figure, a charmer who could also be despotic and unfaithful. None felt the charm and waywardness more than the second, Lilli Palmer, a Jewish refugee from Hitler's Germany whom Rex married during the Second World War. Beautiful, high-minded, and a supremely intelligent actress, Lilli Palmer stood by her husband during the greatest crisis of his career. Rex Harrison was born to prosperous middle-class parents in Liverpool on the 5th of March, 1908. From his childhood, Rex was stage-struck, and in 1925, with the help of his family, he began his acting career at the Liverpool Repertory Theatre, run by William Armstrong. As a novice actor, Rex was more enthusiastic than polished.
I was trying like mad to act. I had no lines at all, but I had to come on as a messenger in Abraham Lincoln. It said in the instructions, a messenger comes on out of breath. But I thought, I would come out of breath, handing the letter, you see. And there was a voice in the stall said, "Harrison, are you all right?" And I said, "Yes, Mr. Armstrong, I'm acting," I said rather plaintively.
Rex had no formal drama coaching and learned his craft by watching other actors. Whenever he could, he rushed down to London, not only to watch the performances of the great stars of London's West End, but also to study the technique of established contemporaries like Celia Johnson. Gladys Cooper was another important influence. But the most significant was that of the actor-manager Gerald du Maurier, whose naturalistic technique, creating the illusion of not acting, Harrison was later to make his own. But at first, Rex struggled.
Armstrong called me in, and looking very solemn and very kind, but said, "You know, Harrison," he said, "the theatre's very overcrowded. It's a very difficult profession. You've got to have some talent to get on, and I do beg you to give it up."
But Rex persisted, and in 1934 acquired his first wife, Colette Thomas. Theirs was to prove a stormy marriage. Rex and Colette set up home in London's Mayfair and frequented fashionable night spots, the Café Anglais in Leicester Square, or the Florida, whose patrons chatted to each other on the cream telephones placed on each table. But Rex had begun to despair of finding a hit role in the West End. Instead, he went to Broadway in a play called Sweet Aloes, starring Evelyn Leigh. While in New York, Rex was screen tested by Warner Brothers. But the men from Hollywood did not take an option on the balding, but now extremely polished, young British leading man. Back in London, Rex's marriage to Colette was falling apart, and his career seemed fatally stalled. But a savior appeared on the horizon in the charismatic form of film magnate Alexander Korda, Britain's only equivalent to Hollywood's movie moguls. Rex signed a contract which introduced him to Korda's own mini Hollywood, the Denham Studios set in suburban fields on the outskirts of London. The contract gave Rex a salary of £2,500 a year. Rex's first film for Korda was the 1937 Men Are Not Gods. But his big break came on stage in Terence Rattigan's French Without Tears. The critics singled him out for special praise. Korda rushed Rex into Storm in a Teacup, co-starring Vivien Leigh. He wanted the pair to become a British version of the wisecracking combination of William Powell and Myrna Loy. Rex resisted the notion. But he was on his way, having by now acquired a reputation for being difficult with directors and fellow actors. When war with Germany broke out in September 1939, Rex tried hard to join up, but was too old. While London readied itself for enemy bombers, Rex resumed the grind of his early career, touring the provinces in a Noel Coward play designed for living. In Birmingham, he met a young actress, Lilli Palmer, who was also in a touring play. German-born and Jewish, Palmer had been forced to leave Germany by the Nazis. Years later, she recalled,
I was appearing, it was my very first engagement in repertory, in the repertory company in Darmstadt, rather famous, very small theater, very good quality. And Hitler had just taken over. I was 18 years old, and I was appearing in a premiere, in an opening night of a new play, and there were 20 stormtroopers placed in the first row to demonstrate spontaneously, the moment I entered the stage. Now, we all entered the stage together with all the other cast sort of dancing on, and they were in a pretty terrible state of mind, because an opening night is bad enough as it is, but if you have 20 stormtroopers sitting there who are going to throw eggs and tomatoes and come up and beat you up, so that was terrifying. However, when the curtain rose, and we all danced on, holding on to each other like this, and me in the middle, the first 2 rows were empty. Nothing happened. And I was told later on what happened, and why we were freed, and why I was liberated. But they found out that my father had earned the Iron Cross first class in the First World War with his the field hospital in front of Verdun, and that saved me from concentration camp.
Lilli had resumed her career in France and then in England. But now that war had broken out, she was registered as a resident alien and found work hard to come by. She was a fiercely independent and somewhat solemn young woman.
While other girls at my age worried about a new hat, I worried about the labor permit. It did me a lot of good. But though on the other hand, did me a lot of good, but on the other hand, it might have made me a bit too serious, So it did me even more good in 1939 to meet an Englishman I fell in love with called Rex Harrison, who had a sort of very special hold on the British sense of humor. And he laughed me out of my Teutonic seriousness, which was very good for me. And it was love at first sight. And it lasted for quite a long while. We were very happy.
Rex and Lilli became lovers when they returned to London early in 1940. She supplied the insecure Rex with companionship. He, the rising star, supplied Lilli with security and glamour. Like Rex, Lilli was a workaholic. Her life had made her immensely self-controlled, but in turn this meant that she was seldom able completely to relax, a difficult failing with a lover as wayward as Rex Harrison. Rex had starred in Night Train to Munich, a Fox movie made in England which had been a big hit in the United States. Filming had finished in June 1940. On Sunday walks through the countryside near Denham Studios, Rex and Lilli watched the Battle of Britain raging overhead. Rex's next assignment at Denham was a screen version of George Bernard Shaw's Major Barbara. Meeting and getting to know Shaw was a crucial event in Rex's career. The old maestro and the young actor were soulmates. But the business of filming Major Barbara under wartime conditions was less happy.
Every time there was an air raid warning on, we couldn't just stop filming because it would have been too costly. So they had spotters on the roof at Denham. If they actually sighted an enemy aircraft, they would sound off a klaxon horn. The boys would come down from the gantries where the lights are on ropes, and we would all have to go underneath until the aircraft was out of the area. But not warnings. So, I mean, it was a terribly disjointed way of filming. How we ever kept concentration, I don't know, because we'd stop a scene right in the middle of a sentence, practically, and pick it up again when we got back, when the airplane had left. It was an extraordinary way of making a film.
By the time filming had been wrapped up, Rex and Lilli had set up home together, although he would have to wait another 2 years for his divorce from Colette. It was for 2 years' service as a ground controller for RAF Bomber Command, bringing damaged bombers safely back to base. On the 25th of January 1943, Rex Harrison and Lilli Palmer were married in a civil ceremony in London. He left the RAF in 1944 and stepped straight into the leading role in the screen version of Noel Coward's Blithe Spirit. The movie's story of a man being haunted by the woman he married was, to a spooky degree, to parallel Rex's own life, a case of art forecasting the future. The reverse happened in The Rake's Progress, in which Lilli co-starred with Rex, cast as a Jewish refugee from Nazi Germany who marries the cad of the title, played by Rex as if to the manner born. Hollywood beckoned, conveniently for Rex as his tax arrears were mounting alarmingly. Rex accepted an offer from Fox Studios, while Lilli secured a contract with Warner Brothers. They left a Britain sunk deep in post-war austerity for a California awash with milk and honey. But Rex was now approaching 40.
Well, the decision to go to Hollywood was a very big one, because I realized that possibly it might change a lot of things in my life and might take me out of my theater world. I decided to do it because the money was marvelous.
In the rarefied atmosphere of the movie's Mount Olympus, Rex felt uneasy among the native screen gods.
The major feeling was being totally inadequate, because I wanted more hair, I wanted to talk more slowly, I wanted to do all the things they did. I mean, Gable and Tracy and Stewart were giants in their own right. I mean, they were, in fact, themselves. So when one went to parties and met them all, one was totally overawed by their, because they looked even more magnificent than they looked on the screen.
In a burst of creative publicity, Fox tried hard to sell Rex as a Charles Boyer type with an English accent. Gamely, he and Lilli adapted to life in Hollywood, with all its pleasures and distractions. Lilli was worried about the distractions lying in wait for the English Charles Boyer. In his first movie at Fox, Rex was several sizes too large for the Oriental monarch in Anna and the King of Siam, later remade as The King and I. Rex was notoriously choosy about accepting roles proffered by Fox. But in his next for the studio, he played a spectral sea captain opposite Gene Tierney in The Ghost and Mrs. Muir. Rex was bearded and ghostly, but had no chance to be sexy. As he read and rejected a mounting pile of scripts, Rex began to settle into the dangerously sybaritic life of a movie star. While Rex was frustrated and restless in Hollywood, Lilli adjusted with relative ease. She combined the business of bringing up their son Carey with a burgeoning career at Warner's. And in Cloak and Dagger, she co-starred with Gary Cooper, a hero about whom she had fantasized in the difficult days of the 30s.
It was rather lovely. We became great friends because all these years before, the dreadful years, the refugee years, the hardship years, the years which made me, actually, I had used him as a sort of imaginary father, confessor, confidant and friend. He used to sit next to me in the bus in my imagination. I used to tell him all that happened during the day. And he would just say, yeah, that was all. It was enough for me. And then when we made the film, the funny thing was that he would come to my dressing room and drape his enormous long legs or somewhere, and then he would tell me his life story. So I said, yup. We were even.
Having tried and failed with Charles Boyer, Fox now gave Harrison an Errol Flynn makeover in The Foxes of Harrow. Rex was now at odds with the Hollywood publicity machine.
I found it was really very much controlling not only the actors, but also the whole industry and the producers and the big people, because I was always surprised to go to people's houses like Cooper and find the columnists would be there.
One of them was the unprepossessing figure of former actress Hedda Hopper.
It inhibits the conversation. They were really waiting for something nasty to happen. And I resented this very much. It was any sort of disaster, like a breakup of a marriage, or would be weighted with glee.
The gleeful gossip columnists were rewarded when Rex embarked on an affair with Carol Landis, an easygoing Fox leading lady who had got through 4 husbands by her late 20s. Landis was best known for a famous wartime tour, entertaining the troops, which provided the basis for a movie, 4 Jills in a Jeep. Landis had been variously promoted as the Ping Girl, the Zipper Girl, and the girl you'd like to be marooned with on a desert island. This had kept her in the news, but not in good movies. She nursed ambitions to be treated as a serious actress. But Carol was relegated to B-movies like It Shouldn't Happen to a Dog. She left Fox and went to England to make a couple of quickies, the second of which was The Noose. Rex took the chance to be with his mistress by insisting that he made his next film for Fox, Escape, in England. But there was no escape from gossip columnists and journalistic predators like Walter Winchell. In March 1948, Winchell informed his readers that Harrison and Landis were an item and that marriage was on the cards. A distraught Lilli Palmer, who happened still to be Rex's wife, flew to New York to stay with her sister. Rex and Carol were left in Hollywood, where the lack of danger took the edge off Rex's amorous appetite. Rex saw Carol Landis for the last time on the evening of the 4th of July. On the morning of the 5th, Landis was found by her maid, dead from an overdose of barbiturates. There was a suicide note. "Goodbye, my angel. Pray for me." After the maid, Rex was the next person on the scene. He dithered over what to do. This would not look good in a few days when the story was headline news. In a trice, good-time girl Carol was transformed by the tabloids into the tragic victim of cynical men, not least the rakish Rex Harrison. It didn't help that the next Rex Harrison film for release by Fox was entitled Unfaithfully Yours. In the midst of the furore, Lilli Palmer returned to Hollywood to be with her husband. Years later, their son Cary explained that she owed him a great debt from her days as a refugee. Moreover, Lilli was, at heart, a one-man woman, in spite of Rex's unfaithfulness. But the Landis affair placed an almost intolerable strain on their relationship. For the moment, however, they weathered the storm. After Carol Landis's funeral, which Rex attended, the Harrisons flew to Paris. Rex couldn't visit London because of unpaid alimony to Colette. Lilli travelled on to Marseille to make Hans le Marin with Jean-Pierre Aumont. Rex remained in Paris, still distraught at Landis' death, but pleasurably distracted by French movie star Martine Carol. Returning to New York, Rex went into rehearsal on Broadway for Anne of the Thousand Days, playing Henry VIII, another man with 6 wives. Rex scored a massive triumph with the play, which ran for nearly 300 performances. Pronounced dead and buried by the likes of Hedda Hopper, he had risen from the grave. Then, in the summer of 1949, while holidaying in Italy with Lilli, Rex bought a plot of land in the seaside resort of Portofino. It was in Portofino that Rex built a superb hillside home, the Villa San Genesio. It was to remain his home until 1974. Whenever he was in residence, Rex ran up the flag of St. George, patron saint of England and, happily, of Portofino. Returning to Hollywood, Rex and Lilli co-starred in The Four-Poster, a two-hander which traced the course of a couple's life from marriage to old age. It was in Hollywood that Lilli met and fell in love with a young Argentine actor, Carlos Thompson. They began an affair of which Rex remained ignorant. In early 1954, Rex found a new mistress, the striking English actress Kay Kendall.
Yes, she was very rakish, very strange background, because it wasn't really, she was half Irish, came from a music hall background.
Kay had co-starred with Rex in The Constant Husband, a film in which he played an amnesiac who becomes a serial spouse. In September 1954, Noel Coward wrote in his diary, "Rex Harrison has fallen in love with Kay Kendall and is breaking Lilli Palmer's heart." The affair came to a crisis point at the beginning of 1957, when Rex was in New York rehearsing for what was to become the signature performance of his career, Professor Henry Higgins in My Fair Lady, the Lerner Loewe adaptation of George Bernard Shaw's Pygmalion. Rex was reunited with the spirit of his old mentor in a performance in which actor and role merged into one. But even before the curtain went up on the first night, Rex had been told that Kay Kendall had an incurable disease, leukemia, and had at most 3 years to live. Kay was not told of her condition. By the time she filmed Les Girls, the illness had sapped her stamina. Although she still looked radiantly beautiful. Lilli Palmer, separated from Rex but still married to him, was also in on the secret. She urged Rex to divorce her and marry Kay. Rex and Kay were married in June 1957.
I didn't marry her because I had an incurable. We would have married anyway, but the point was I had been told that she hadn't got a great number of years to live. However, happily, I don't think she knew anything about it until, I don't think she knew up until her death, actually.
After Kay's death in 1959, Rex was to marry 3 more times. His 6th and last wife was Mercia Tinker. In the 60s, Rex became a truly international star. And the movie version of My Fair Lady has preserved forever his mastery of high comedy, honed with huge effort from the day Rex first clumsily trod the boards in Liverpool. No one was surprised when Rex collected the Best Actor Oscar from co-star Audrey Hepburn in 1965. Not bad for an actor who had been earnestly begged to quit the profession. And Rex stayed at the top as a quizzical Dr. Dolittle, the man who talked to the animals. And Pope Julius II in The Agony and the Ecstasy, talking to God and raging against Charlton Heston's Michelangelo. The indomitable Lilli Palmer married Carlos Thompson, made many more films, returned to Germany, became a best-selling author, and died of cancer in 1986. She remained a beautiful woman of great spirit to the end. Rex, the consummate actor, continued to work almost to the very end of his life. He was knighted at the age of 81 in the summer of 1989, and within a couple of months was appearing on Broadway. His own terminal illness, concealed from him by Mercia, forced Rex to quit in May 1990. He died a few weeks later. His ashes were scattered in the sea off Portofino. It was the final resting place on a long journey. Lilli Palmer had been with Rex through much of that journey, in the good times and the bad. And the warm blue water in the Bay of Portofino was far removed from the grim wartime days in London in 1940, when a handsome young actor and a beautiful refugee met and fell in love at first sight.